Well, we'll start in just about 1 minute, so if you want to begin to make your way down, we'll start in about 1 minute.
How's that? Folks, we'll go ahead and get started now. As we're going to talk about 5 facts that you should know about dinosaurs. And what do we call dinosaurs at ICR? We call them missionary lizards because they are evangelistic when you think about it. The majesty of dinosaurs, the uniqueness of their makeup, all point, I think, to very, very clear design. So we're going to look at the 5 facts that we should know about dinosaurs. And we all have physical data, don't we? We all have a way of looking at the fossil record depending on our worldviews. So we have 2 competing worldviews, and I covered that last hour. One is an evolutionary worldview that says no to creator. The second is, of course, the creation science model. Now, what creature do I have up there on the screen? That's a clam, okay? And when we talk about fossils, you know what the fossil record is all about? It's all about clams. So if you were to take the person next to you and have them blindfolded and then have them collect 100 fossils completely at random from the fossil record, we all know what fossils are, right? Statistically, out of all those 100 fossils, 95 of those randomly collected fossils would be clams. And so clams are found throughout the fossil record, the bottom, in the middle, and the top. They're just all clams. So that's why I put clams there. But you know what? We could also put a dinosaur fossil. We can put a dinosaur bone or something like that there. But certainly they would be physical data, the fossils. So at least 95% of all animal fossils are marine invertebrates. You know what that is, marine invertebrates? Clams. Clams. Among the vertebrates, most fossils are fish. Again, mostly marine creatures, and that is from the ocean. Of the terrestrial, the land fossils, by far, most of them are plants. Land-dwelling animals, such as mammals and dinosaurs that we're talking about, are poorly represented in the fossil record. That's right, dinosaurs are poorly represented in the fossil record. So the first interpretation is that this clam evolved over long periods of time from a non-clam ancestor. What worldview is that? That's the evolutionary worldview, right? Evolution says no such thing as creation. Therefore, when they see a clam, they say, well, it must have come from a non-clam ancestor. The problem with that is the fossil record just shows a bunch of clams. Clams at the bottom and the middle and the top of the fossil record. It's all clams, but certainly no evolutionary ancestors of clams. So I think that's kind of interesting from the get-go. And then what's the second worldview? Well, that would be the creation worldview, and we would say that this clam died at Noah's flood, having originally descended from original created clams. So here are the two competing worldviews, evolutionary and creation worldviews, and the facts of the fossils fits the creation worldview, certainly not the evolutionary worldview. So if you're taking notes, fact number one this afternoon is dinosaurs have always been dinosaurs. If you look to the fossil record, you find that there is no evolutionary ancestors of dinosaurs. In fact, when you find dinosaurs, and the rare occasion that you do, they are 100% dinosaurs. And so dinosaurs first appeared fully formed, and suddenly, that's interesting too. If evolution were true, we wouldn't expect to find dinosaurs 100% fully formed in the fossil record. We should find slow, gradual evolution of dinosaurs from a non-dinosaur ancestor, but that's not what we find. And they're found in what we call the Jurassic layers, Triassic, but we don't believe in the long ages that evolutionists give. So here's a question of the afternoon, just to kind of get us going here. On which one of the 6-day creation were dinosaurs created? Now, there was a little boy sitting in the front row about last year, and he raised his hand and said, Thursday. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the 6 days of creation. So on which day were dinosaurs created? Anybody? Answer is day 6. So on day 6, dinosaurs are created. Look what it says in Genesis chapter 1. And God made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind, and God saw that it was good. So dinosaurs were created on day 6. What's significant about that? Well, what else was created on day 6? People. So according to God's word, according to one who was there when? In the beginning, then we find that people and dinosaurs were created on the same day of creation, and that's day 6. So God created dinosaurs, and some of my favorite dinosaurs are on the screen there right now. These are the long-tailed, long-necked dinosaurs, and the name of the long-tailed, long-necked dinosaurs are called sauropods. Sauropods. And as far as we can determine by their fossils, sauropods were herbivorous. They were plant eaters. And so you have all sorts of different kinds of sauropods there. Now, do you see an animal there that's not a sauropod? Yeah, it's an elephant, okay? Why would we put an elephant there? Well, that's for scale. That's for scale. So you can see that the elephant is dwarfed by these long-necked, long-tailed sauropods. And then you can barely see it from there, but they have a 6-foot man that's superimposed, it's silhouetted there, the dinosaur, the elephant. And so it's you can see that people are really, really small compared to these huge sauropods. Let's see. And then also, this is a quote from Dr. Michael Benton. Michael Benton is an English atheist paleontologist, somebody who studies fossils. And so Michael Benton, the atheist, had this to say about sauropod evolution. He calls it sauropod phylogeny. That's a fancy word. It simply means evolution. Sauropod evolution has been much what? Debated. It's been much debated. You know what the prediction I would like to make this afternoon? I would say, according to the evolution model, it will always be debated. They'll never come to an understanding about sauropod phylogeny or sauropod evolution. You know why? Sauropods did not evolve, okay? They were created on day 6. So based on what God has told us in his word, sauropods, the dinosaurs, did not evolve. And so this is why Michael Benton, the atheist, the evolutionist, said sauropod evolution has been much debated. It's always going to be debated because God was there in the beginning just thousands of years ago. Here's another sauropod, long neck, long tail, and they call it Argentiniansaurus. Guess where they found Argentiniansaurus? New Jersey. That's right, New Jersey, where they found it. And yeah, they found it in Argentina, okay? And so here we find Argentiniansaurus. Now, what is the biggest dinosaur in the world? Well, it's hard to say because we find just pieces and bits and bones of dinosaurs. We never, hardly ever find the complete skeleton. When they do, it's cause for celebration because the Genesis flood was so devastating, it disarticulated dinosaurs. What's that word disarticulated mean? Tear up, bust up. And so we find the dinosaurs got broken up during the flood because running water can be very, very devastating. But the point is this, that we're really not quite sure what the largest dinosaur ever was. However, if push comes to shove, a paleontologist, a vertebrate paleontologist will say probably Argentiniansaurus, which is a group of dinosaurs, and they're all found in that area of South America that today we call Argentina. And so look at that, 100 tons of steaks and roast. Just a lot of dinosaur. It got to be very, very big. So what dinosaur is this? Anybody who's under the age of 12? Anybody who's under the age of 12, what would you call this dinosaur? Let's see, we don't have anybody here under the age of 12. All right. Okay, sweetheart, do you know? Very good. Can we give her a hand this afternoon? Very good. Okay. That's Stegosaurus, okay? Now, do we know that the plates on the back of Stegosaurus, do we know that those armored plates look like that? Well, we know what they look like, but we don't know how for sure they were arrayed on the dinosaur, because I was at a dinosaur dig in 1996 in where else? Dinosaur, Colorado, and we were digging up an almost complete Stegosaurus a fossil, which was on private land, and so the people who owned that land were believers or Christians, and so they wanted creationists to extract the Stegosaurus, and so we did that, and we found the plates were just kind of laying around the ground there next to the fossil, so it's hard to say just how these plates were on the dinosaur when it was alive and well thousands of years ago. Another thing about the Stegosaurus is they have very tiny teeth, impossibly small teeth. It's amazing that they could eat enough food to keep them going in a 24-hour period. Well, this is a Stegosaurus, and guess what we have also? We have Stegosaurus cats. Okay, you can look at that. Here's another Stegosaurus cat right here. See, people do that who have too much time on their hands, okay? And so that's a fact of science, Stegosaurus cats. How about this one? Anybody? Yes? A little bit louder? Bing, 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 Triceratops. You got that correct. Thank you. A budding creation scientist. Good. So that is a Triceratops. Tri meaning three, the horns. And remember, they found some fibers, some nerve fibers from a Triceratops in the Hell Creek Formation just a few years ago. And then my friend Mark Armitage also found osteocytes. Osteo means bone, cyte means cell. He found bone cells in the Triceratops horn that he extracted there. It's unheard of because, folks, according to evolutionary theory, these dinosaur fossils were formed 66 million years ago. That's when dinosaurs allegedly became extinct. What are we doing? Finding soft dinosaur tissue. Something I didn't say this morning, let me add it now. When you go online anytime today or in the week to follow, type in the three words in Google Images, soft dinosaur tissue, and prepare to be amazed, because it is incredible. So type in soft dinosaur tissue, Google Images sometime this week. Hey, what's this? Yes, a young lady right there. Very good, sweetheart. T-Rex. Yeah, give her a hand there. So it's a T-Rex. And how do we know about T-Rex? Well, look at it. It's Tyrannosaurus Rex has the short arms, the extended tail, the savage look. Ooh, boy, that's scary, isn't it? Tyrannosaurus Rex. And we have a full T-Rex animatronic dinosaur at the ICR Discovery Center. So when you come up to the DC to view the Tyrannosaurus Rex and others, just check out our Discovery Center and then tell the lady at the desk that you want to see Dr. Sherwin, and I'll come and we'll go out for lunch, okay? I'll pray and you pay. And so, all right. Okay, Dollar Day on Friday. Thank you. My wife keeps me in line on that. Dollar Day. All right. So this is a T-Rex. Nose of short arms, extended tail, savage look. Here's a Dogosaurus Rex. Wow, Dogosaurus Rex. Look at that. And notice the short arms, the extended tail, the savage look at that little puppy dog. Look at that little puppy. Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? All right. So anyway, that's Dogosaurus. Can we have fun this afternoon? Yeah, Dogosaurus Rex, okay. So what about the origin of dinosaurs? What do we have? We have two competing worldviews, right? One says in the beginning nothing, that's evolution. The other says in the beginning God, in the beginning God, Genesis 1:1. Okay, so when it comes to dinosaur origin, what should we find according to evolution? We should find the ancestors of dinosaurs, the evolutionary ancestors, something that was not a dinosaur, but was on its way to becoming a dinosaur. That's what we should find in the sedimentary rock units. Well, here's an individual by the name of Norman, is an evolutionist. He said that way back in 2022. That's just 2 short years ago. And he admitted in print, and he's from Cambridge, he's a fellow at Christ College in Cambridge, the Department of Earth Sciences, and he said, it's as if they, meaning dinosaurs, just suddenly appeared out of nowhere. That is the best quote I've ever read from a dyed-in-the-wool evolutionist who was asked, where did dinosaurs come from? And he was very candid, wasn't he? He was very, very upfront and honest. And he said, you know, it looks like they just suddenly appeared out of nowhere. That is exactly what we would expect based on the creation model. Folks, I cannot emphasize that enough. If God created dinosaurs as dinosaurs on day 6, then they proliferated as 100% dinosaurs up until the flood, when the flood destroyed them all, except those dinosaurs that were found on Noah's Ark. And yes, we maintain dinosaurs did go on Noah's Ark. Ken Cardong, who said this in 2012, a few years ago, but he said, although dinosaurs died out, the debate over what kind of reptile they were continues to evolve. And he's an evolutionist. So not only do dinosaurs show up suddenly complete, fully formed as 100% dinosaurs, but there's still a debate as to what reptile they, what kind of reptile they were. This comes from another evolutionary publication, and it's talking about a new fossil that they found in Brazil. Look what the author said. Now, the focus has shifted from how they died out to where they came from in the first place. Where did they come from in the first place? Because they show up complete, fully formed as dinosaurs. And so that's a big mystery for the evolutionist, but who's that not a mystery for? The creationist. We would expect that dinosaurs would suddenly appear because they were created as dinosaurs just thousands of years ago. And then this author also had another bombshell that he said in this article. He said dinosaurs coexisted with their reptilian forebears rather than replacing them. So for years, the evolutionists thought there were certain kind of reptiles that dinosaurs evolved from until, oops, they found the so-called ancestors of dinosaurs buried with dinosaurs. So the dinosaurs could not have evolved from it because these reptilian forebears existed at the same time. Now, I don't usually quote from Wikipedia for obvious reasons, but I had to include this quote from Wikipedia. They said, and I quote, "The first appeared during the Triassic period," and I mentioned that earlier, between 243 and 233 million years ago although the exact origin and timing of the evolution of dinosaurs is a subject of active research. That's a diplomatic way of saying we have no idea. Okay, so just type in "we have no idea." They talk about active research and so forth, but I appreciate them saying that. Again, dinosaurs have always been dinosaurs, even according to Wikipedia, which is vehemently anti-Christian, anti-creation. This individual, Dr. David Worship, he's an anatomist and paleontologist, somebody who studies fossils at the prestigious Johns Hopkins University. Here's what he had to say, and he's an authority on dinosaurs. Look what he said. "From my reading of the fossil record of dinosaurs, no direct ancestors have been discovered for any dinosaur species." What did we call those long-necked, long-tailed dinosaurs, class? Begins with the letter S. Sauropods, very good, sauropods. So that includes the sauropods, a huge sauropods, 90-ton sauropod species. Then he said, "Alas, my list of dinosaurian ancestors is an empty one." It's not that he has one or two suggestions. He's upfront, he's honest, he's intellectually honest in saying, "I don't know." The list is an empty one. Again, the reason why I'm showing you quotes like this is to share with you that even evolutionists are admitting dinosaurs show up as 100% dinosaurs, just as we would predict on the basis of creation. However, the mode and the timing of and there's that key word again, origin. What about that book that was written in 1859 by a naturalist, by some guy named Charles Darwin? Yeah. The name of the book was The Origin of Species, and it turned the Western world upside down, the origin of species. What's one thing that Darwin never talked about in his book? The origin of the species. He never got around to addressing the origin of species. That's why it's really not a very good title for his book. And so he never talked about the origin of species. Well, Dr. Sherwin, why was it such a popular book in Darwin's day as it is today in the 21st century? And the answer is not because of any science that Darwin was sharing, and he had precious little science. It's the philosophy that Darwin had in his book entitled The Origin of Species. Philosophy, what do you mean? Well, his book was popular because he tried to explain creation without a creator. He tried to explain creation without a creator. That's why Darwin's book was so popular in Darwin's day as it is today. And so he never addressed the origin of species. Well, this is from a textbook I used and published in 2020. It has 5 authors, and according to these 5 evolutionists, how the various groups of dinosaurs arose is, look at the word they used. It's a puzzle. It's an enigma. They don't know how the various groups of dinosaurs arose. And that's from an evolutionary zoology textbook just published 4 years ago. Fact number 2, dinosaurs were on Noah's Ark. Come on, Dr. Sherwin, dinosaurs went aboard Noah's Ark. You just said the 100-ton dinosaur. Yeah, dinosaurs got to be like 100 tons. Does that mean those are the ones that went on Noah's Ark? No, We believe that the dinosaurs that went on Noah's Ark were the juvenile dinosaurs, the young dinosaurs, the teenagers. Okay, they went on board the Noah's Ark when they were young and small. No problem for the creation model. So let's look at Noah's Ark very quickly, and let's look at a typical neighborhood, for example, in the Midwest, and look at the dimensions of Noah's Ark as described in the book of Genesis. And so we find Noah's Ark was approximately 450 feet by 75 feet by 45 feet. And let's connect the dots. And then let's add the 3 decks that you see there. There's 1, 2, 3 decks of Noah's Ark. And then finally, let's look and see that the ark, Noah's Ark, had space equal to 522 cattle stock cars. More than enough room for the various kinds of animals. Remember, there are the critics of creation, right? Critics of creation will do anything to try and disparage what Scripture says. So they talk about something called species. But there's a big difference between species of creatures and kinds of creatures. So we believe the word kinds is somewhere around where we, as scientists, as biologists, would look at, for example, the families of animals. So if kinds are equivalent to families, then there's no problem having the representative animals on board Noah's Ark at the time of the flood about 4,500 years ago. So Genesis chapter 6 and verse 19, look what it says here. And of every living thing, very, very important, every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every sort shalt thou bring into the ark. Question, does that include the dinosaurs? Yeah, absolutely. We have to go with Scripture says. And that would include the dinosaurs. So did the 100-ton sauropod dinosaur go on board the ark? I just answered that a minute earlier. No, not the 100-ton one, but the young ones. You see the young dinosaurs there? You see mom and dad in the background there. But you see in the forefront, you get these young dinosaurs having just hatched out of the eggs. Here are some other dinosaurs that are playing happily around mom there. And we believe those are the young dinosaurs that went on board Noah's Ark. And so is there evidence that this is true? Is there evidence? And I believe there is. This picture was taken by either Ham or Japheth, and they were on the ark, and they took picture of dinosaurs on the ark. There you go, photographic evidence. Pictures don't lie. And we just not sure if it was either Ham or Japheth who took that picture. Okay, fact number 3. We're moving right along. Dinosaurs are recent. This is something that I'm going to spend just a little bit of time on because evolutionists hate to think of the idea that dinosaurs are recent. Remember, when did dinosaurs become extinct according to theory of evolution? 66 million years ago. They talk about a giant asteroid striking the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico 66 million years ago, sending up a huge cloud of debris which absolutely clouded out the entire surface of the earth for a number of years. And you had these quote-unquote nuclear winters, a very apocalyptic prediction about how the dinosaurs were killed, but it's always very theoretical. Nobody was there 66 million years ago, okay? And that's the thing, keep in mind. Always ask the person who says that, were you there? And then I would counter gently and diplomatically and say, you know, I know somebody who was there. He told us what happened to the dinosaurs. And what would we say killed the dinosaurs? The Genesis flood. The Genesis flood. When did that occur? Well, not 66 million years ago. Right, about 4,500 years ago. Here's a question. A lot of Christians kind of get caught up on this one. How long was the Genesis flood? People usually say, kids usually say 40 days and 40, no, it wasn't 40 days and 40 nights. That was how long the rains were. But the actual flood itself was a little over 1 year, a little over a year. And during that year, there was a lot of geologic work that was being done. A lot of real estate on the surface of the earth was rearranged. But dinosaurs are recent. And dinosaurs got on the ark I'd say about 4,500 years ago. Some say about 4,300 years ago. Somewhere around there. Post-flood conditions probably killed off many creatures, including most dinosaurs. A few rare dinosaur species may have lasted into the Middle Ages. I think that's interesting, folks. Hey, the Middle Ages, where do we read about when we read about the Middle Ages? Dragons, right? Dragons all the time in the Middle Age literature. Why else would the British, Chinese, and 200 other cultures have such detailed stories about dragons? By the way, when I was in the Navy over in Vietnam, I was on an aircraft carrier, and I remember we always used to read, we meaning people my age and all that, would read about from the World Book Encyclopedia. Back in the early 70s, the World Book Encyclopedia was very, very popular. And the World Book Encyclopedia said in 1973, the dragons of legend are strangely like actual creatures that have lived in the past. Well, that's interesting that a secular encyclopedia, an evolutionary-based encyclopedia, would say that. They are much like the great reptiles which inhabited the earth long before man is supposed to have appeared on earth. Dragons were generally evil and destructive, and every country had them in mythology. And I think that's kind of interesting too. World Book Encyclopedia, a secular publication. And what do we read about medieval dragons, for example, in English literature? St. George and the dragon. Very good. St. George and the dragon. I think this really happened. I think there really was a guy, perhaps named St. George, whatever, and some of these knights would go out killing dragons, which are synonymous with dinosaurs. And I get some support from some very unlikely areas, such as, look at this, National Geographic. National Geographic is no friend of the creationist. National Geographic is 100% evolution in their worldview that I keep talking about today. So the worldview of National Geographic is evolutionary, and they talk about, look at that, big, bad, bizarre dinosaurs. What does that dinosaur look like? It sure looks like the head of a dragon to me. And once again, this is why we would maintain, we can't prove it, of course. I wouldn't even try and go into a laboratory and try and prove it. But it looks like dragons and dinosaurs were the same thing. They were synonymous. And so even secular authors sometimes are admitting the same thing when we look, especially the cover of National Geographic. They have no theological axe to grind, I assure you. China is renowned for its dragon, that is, dinosaur stories, and dragons are prominent on Chinese pottery, embroidery, and carvings. It's possible that dinosaurs migrated to China from the Mount Ararat region about 4,500 years ago. So if the dinosaurs were on Noah's Ark, then they also had to have come off Noah's Ark and then migrate. As a zoologist, I can assure you that every major animal group has the ability to migrate. It's in their instinct. They can migrate. Some migrate better than others, for example. But here we find that these dinosaurs, dragons, migrated to China. That just happens to be the one animal that is revered by the Chinese. Not so much the panda everybody thinks of, but it's the dragon that the Chinese just revere, and they have parades. What do they have with parades? They have a lot of fireworks and dragons, you bet. And so they revere the dragon. This was carved in a Cambodian temple about 9 centuries ago. This particular temple was found in the Far East. It was overgrown, 100% overgrown with all sorts of vegetation. It was found in the mid-70s. And so the researchers came out and they started to cut away all this debris, all this vegetation, and they found they call it Ta Prohm. Ta Prohm abounds with stone statues and reliefs. Almost every square inch of the gray sandstone is covered with ornate carvings, such as you see here. Hundreds of decorative stone circles surround familiar animals such as monkeys, deer, water buffalo, parrots. What does that creature look like? Sure looks like a stegosaurus to me. Question, 9 centuries ago, did they have PhDs in paleontology doing research? No, I don't think so. As a matter of fact, the only way that a person who is carving that temple relief would carve that is if they had seen it. If they were saying, hey, I got a monkey here on this one, I got a parrot here, a water buffalo, oh, and that big animal there, yeah, I'll carve that in. And he carves a stegosaurus. Is this scientific proof? No. It's what we call legal historical evidence. Legal historical evidence. For example, could I prove to you scientifically that Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in Ford Theater in the 1860s? There's no way, there's absolutely no way I can prove that scientifically. However, there is something we call legal historical evidence. Do we use legal historical evidence to show that Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in Ford Theater? Yeah, we do. It's called eyewitness accounts. It's called a historical narrative. It's called other type of historical ways of documenting that Abraham Lincoln, the President of the United States, was assassinated in Ford Theater. It's the same situation here. This is what we call legal historical evidence. And in this case, we believe it probably to be eyewitness accounts. So it cannot be scientifically proven. This is a royal house of France. And in this relief in the Royal House of France, this particular family has what some historians maintain is a salamander on the shield and on the relief of their living room above the huge fireplace. Would you put a salamander on your shield to scare your enemy? A slimy salamander? I don't think that would strike fear in my enemy's heart at all. But if I took a fire-breathing dragon and put that on my shield, that might cause people to kind of think twice. And sure enough, this is what we believe this is. Not some slimy salamander, but an actual fire-breathing dragon that are mentioned in, for example, in Genesis. Years ago, 20 plus years ago, I was in a laboratory in Southern California, and my friend Mark Armitage, that I mentioned previously, was working in the lab, and he had a huge, not huge, but a large glass container with some leaves and twigs and junk like that, and plus he had some little animals in there. And he invited me to push away the glass cover, reach inside, and pick up one of those creatures. And I picked up one of those creatures, and it was a beetle. And I took my finger, in Texas we call this a finger, and I placed my finger up against the back end of that beetle, and boom, an explosion, 212 degrees Fahrenheit, went off on the back of my finger. And that is because of what we call the bombardier beetle. The bombardier beetle is an actual beetle that fires off rapidly, many times per second, a solution at the boiling point of water, 212 degrees Fahrenheit. And so I was the recipient of this beetle, and I was squeezing it a little bit, and that's why he got mad and he let go with a blast, because I wanted to share with people in years to follow. I actually held a bombardier beetle and got him to blast against my fingertip, and it hurt. And then it gets oxidized. That exudate, it shoots out, it begins to oxidize, and it just is a terrible, terrible smelling organic compound. And so here it is, the bombardier beetle, and it's being suspended on, you can see a piece of aluminum wire from the very top, and it has a blob of yellow glue there that's suspending the beetle in midair. And you can see the silver tweezers. You see the silver tweezers coming in from the side. It's tugging on that poor beetle's back leg, and the beetle gets mad, swings his rear end around, and blasts away at the boiling point of water against the tweezers there. And this is what it looks like inside. Now, I did some study on this in graduate school at the University of Northern Colorado in the mid-1980s. And so I did a graduate seminar on the bombardier beetle. It has two different kinds of compounds. One is an organic compound called hydroquinone, and it's very, very toxic, very toxic. It's deadly in large amounts. And then the second compound is one that we're all familiar with, and that's hydrogen peroxide. We've all used hydrogen peroxide in one way or another. You mix those two compounds together, nothing happens. What you need are special organic catalysts called enzymes. You've all heard of enzymes, right? And these enzymes makes an organic compound reaction go very, very fast. And so all of those traits, all those characteristics that I just mentioned and listed have to be there working together at the same time. Plus, you have to have the nervous system that works very well in addition to that. And so the bombardier beetle's defense mechanism, strong energy-producing reactions, boiling hot fluids, and explosive release. And so what my statement here is, if God can put this inside of a little bombardier beetle, can he not go ahead and put it in a dinosaur, a fire-breathing dinosaur? Shake your head like this. And so that little bombardier beetle is only about 3 inches long. You've got all that biochemical machinery in there that gives something of the boiling point of water. There's actually a popping sound you can hear, and it gives a flash. And if God can do that in a little beetle, I believe he can put that inside of a large dinosaur as well. Do you remember soft dinosaur tissue? Here's what you'll see on the internet if you go to Google Images. Soft dinosaur tissue, showing the tissue is recent. Dinosaurs became extinct relatively, 4,500 years ago. Here's some of the soft tissue that ICR has been working on. I won't go through this except to say that there's been a lot of this found, and easily 3 or 4 times as much as what you see there. a soft tissue not only of dinosaurs, but other creatures as well. And then finally, Canada unveils a dinosaur mummy found with skin and gut contents intact. That is one of the more amazing statements you will ever see this afternoon when it comes to dinosaurs. That in Canada they have a dinosaur mummy, skin and gut contents intact. They say it's 110 million years old. We would maintain he was killed during the flood, and this is what it looks like. What does the head of that dinosaur look like? It looks like a dragon. It looks like a dragon. And look how intact that is. That's not some kind of artist rendition. This is not artificial intelligence. This is actual mummified dinosaur, which is unheard of. It's absolutely amazing, folks. And it's evidence of a young Earth, not proof of a young Earth. I didn't say that. It's evidence of a young Earth. And what kind of plants did dinosaurs stomp around on? When I was a Cub Scout in the Chicagoland area, I remember seeing these old white and black movies of dinosaurs stomping around on plants that you could never recognize. It was an alien environment, and these dinosaurs look so alien, and it looks so, evolution must be true. I mean, look at these huge dinosaurs and plants that you could never recognize and all that. And that stayed with us as kids for a long time until the other shoe dropped. The other shoe dropped. In other words, they found out dinosaurs wandered around among some very, very familiar plants, like the oak, orchard, willow, magnolia, 6 different kinds of grass, including rice, sassafras, palms, and other such common flowering plants. By the way, and I say this as we close, flowering plants have always been flowering plants. Guess who that was a problem for? None other than Charles Darwin. Darwin saw flowering plants and the appearance of flowering plants as a real problem for his strange idea called evolution. So flowering plants have always been flowering plants. The dinosaurs who stomped around in them have always been dinosaurs. And the reason why we know so much about dinosaurs is because, what are the 4 F's? Floods, form, fossils, fast. And so dinosaurs are missionary lizards for good reason. They shout creation from the grave, if you will, from the sedimentary rock units. So in addition to the best book, creation science book out there, which is Creation Facts of Life by my friend and mentor, Gary Parker, this is a must for your growing creation science library. It's easy to understand. It's easy to read. Gary's a dear friend, and he's done such a phenomenal job in writing this book. Also, some guy named Sherwin has written a book called The Ocean Book. And this is in its 2nd printing now. It's been revised, updated, and expanded. And so get you a copy of the Ocean Book. Without having to go all the way down to South Texas to look at the ocean, you can read all about it right here. It was a real joy writing this book many years ago, but you'll enjoy this very much. Animals, and I have a whole section on the Genesis flood in this Ocean Book. We have, speaking of dinosaurs, we have the Dinosaurs Exploring Real-Life Dragons of History. This is a good booklet to give to young Christians who who stumble on dinosaurs. That dinosaurs are a big problem, they think, for their new formed faith in Christ. This booklet will answer all the questions they have about dinosaurs and why dinosaurs fit the creation model so well. Dinosaurs in the Bible. This goes right along with it. This is Dr. Brian Thomas's booklet on dinosaurs. So these 2 booklets go together beautifully. That helps individuals to get that apologetic, that apologia for dinosaurs. So Dr. Thomas's book on dinosaurs and a DVD series. If you like the slides that you saw here this afternoon, some of those slides are seen in this DVD. And this is something, if you're a Sunday school teacher or if you're a Christian school teacher, you want to get this DVD series on dinosaurs. It goes into wonderful detail about these missionary lizards. So it's called Uncovering the Truth About Dinosaurs, and you have several DVDs that are associated with that. And then also for the young people, we have Dinosaurs Activity Book. Kids love this dinosaur activity book. This will keep them very, very busy as they learn about dinosaurs from a biblical perspective. They have, filling in the dots and coloring and everything else. I know the people who wrote this book, it is a fun book for the young people. And then two more books. One is Dinosaurs, Marvels of God's Creation, written by my dear friend, Dr. Tim Clary. He has his PhD in geology. He knows a lot about dinosaurs. This is a very recent book. And then also, this book, ICR's Guide to Dinosaurs, as well. So these two go together quite well for people who have questions about dinosaurs, junior high, high school. This especially, Dr. Clary's book on dinosaurs, will help the high school and college student to understand more fully and completely about the nature of dinosaurs. So you've got all of these books at your disposal. Begin now to build your creation science library, and it begins with the dinosaurs and Gary Parker's book on creation facts of life. Pastor, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, I think it's filled with some really wonderful information, and we grow up hearing that dinosaurs were millions and millions and millions of years ago. They've got to do that. They've got to do that because they've got to make sense of an evolutional mindset. And so they've got to create millions and millions of years. If they say that dinosaurs were destroyed in a flood, well, then they are acknowledging a biblical fact. They can't do that. So they create something such as a meteor that hits the earth and then creates a dust that then settles on all these animals that causes the fossilization. But we as Christians understand that there was a flood that took place 4,500 years ago. And it consumed the earth. And for 1 year, that water began to settle. And that mud and all began to settle. Just as he said, it takes a flood creates fossils very quickly. And it only makes sense. Always remember, not all dinosaur bones are fossilized. They're soft tissues they're finding. So what's that tell you? They're not 650 million years old. They're fresh. Church, you're not going to be able to prove that to your local scientist. But you can leave today understanding that God had a plan, and He spoke about it in His Word, and He told us the details, and we can walk in confidence, and we can believe that what we read is true, and it can create great faith. I hope I came up, think about this, and then we'll stop. If man and dinosaur did not walk the earth at the same time, well, if man and dinosaur didn't walk the earth at the same time, where did the Chinese and the others, the 200 different other cultures, where did they come up with the imagery? They had to done it in one of two ways. They had to made it up they'd had to make it up, or they'd had to find fossils. Well, I don't think they were finding fossils back then. I don't think they were able to duplicate and create these grand animals by fossil records of that moment. But they had to see something. All these cultures talk about these things in their ancient writings. So maybe man and dinosaur did walk together. Maybe a flood's what wiped them out. And maybe what we see, the remnant of things, maybe we see some remnant of the animals that were on the flood that grew up and created some small little pockets. Maybe that's where we see what we call the dragon. That's all I got. Let's pray, and then we'll get out of here. Harold, pray for us and get us out of here.